Okay, I probably can't help the background noise, so I apologize. I just wanted to show a few features of the jig to maximize rigidity. So, what I have is a inch and a quarter block of aluminum bar that I scribed a line around. I drilled and tapped one side, and I waited to drill and tap the other side until it was clamped in place. And the reason I waited is so that this axis will stay fixed in relation to this axis. There's a potential of flex, and there's a potential for the um, headstock or the shaft that the knee runs up and down on to be curved like a macaroni noodle. But we're trying to get the best we can out of flimsy and cheap equipment that everybody might have. All of this stuff would be easy on a milling machine, but this project is about what can you do with home grade stuff. So because I clamped it in and drilled this hole the same diameter as the shank, such that it intersects with this hole, this will be as close to true to the actual cutter, the axis of this rotation, as is possible to maintain. I do have to pivot it offset, and that could theoretically change it. There's also inherent flex in every part of the machine. Now the next point is that I've got depth stops here. Let's see, those are just out of shot, so I'll move up. So I have these depth stops right here, and those will come in handy later. This depth stop system has a fair amount of flex, so you need a light touch. I use just fingertip to try to hang the same amount of pressure. You could even go so far as to hang weights to have a equal stopping point. But the next thing is, you'll notice I have a witness mark on my grindstone here and on the chuck. All the tools that I stick in that chuck, other than just like a drill bit, I use the same witness mark so that they will tend to run most concentric to each other as they wear. I definitely try to avoid letting something spin in the chuck and change that relationship. Next thing is, you'll notice the point of my soon-to-be D-bit is just outside the radius of this grinder, which you will notice is not currently squared. I will square it before the final step, but I'll let it hog out most of the material. So the plan is to turn this on and slowly feed it and grind away to nearly, but not quite, the halfway line. Then I'm going to clean up the stone and do it again with a very slow pass, keeping right up to there. I will also want to hold a wet sponge against this to keep it from getting hot. And I'm just going to continuously keep that wet. So those are some of the things I will do that will result in good grinding. I don't think I'm going to try to video that grinding process. I hope it's self-evident what that will look like. I would also note that the grinding I put on the left side of the cutter with normal rotation, that would throw the sparks away from me, and the cutting edge that I'm producing is the edge that is directly in my line of sight. So I sort of set it up to succeed and see the results I'm getting as I go. I can't find where I put it right now, but I've got a similar thing to this, but it's a diamond wheel that is what I prefer to use for finish. And part of the reason I'm doing this is it'll give me sort of a hollow grind, which will give me a more aggressive angle of attack on my D-bit cutter, and also make it easier to sharpen. So we'll eventually sneak up on the halfway line of it, very gradually. I'm going to use very light feed pressure and go slowly. Okay, so I've squared up this a little bit. You can see the stone isn't loaded up. I used the carbide from a worn out skill saw blade held basically like this, and move the table over to square it up and down. Do at your own risk, obviously. I also adjusted the belt speed to increase the speed of the stone. I put a little bit of heat into the tip here, which was a mistake. Anytime you reset, I would start out a little bit with it loose. So what I'm saying is, make a little bit of a gap, give it a full rotation, make sure it doesn't scrape. Put it in contact, feel that it's scraping lightly. Give it a tap, tighten it, no scrape. And then basically from snug, very gradually increase it in. We don't have a lead screw or something. Only the bottom corner is working. So I've just taken it out here. Hopefully I can hold this in focus. What we've made now is half of our bullet shape. You can see I overheated the tip there, and that it's got a little bit of a hollow grind to it. Now since it rotates clockwise, only this side will be our cutting edge. This side is actually just drag and locating, unless you were to run it anti-clockwise, but that's just complicating things for no reason. So the next step is for me to take this to a diamond flat stone and lay it flat like this on the diamond stone and go like this until I get a bright sharp edge here. After that, I'll take a test cut in a piece of scrap aluminum. Now, one of the things I can do if I need to is make a little bit of relief on the back edge for chips to clear, but that helps center it, so I'd frankly rather have it be an inefficient cutter and need to constantly stop and blow out chips with either cutting fluid or compressed air than have it wander off center and make a chattery surface finish. So probably I will try cutting this as is. Now, like I said, the tip here is a little bit pointier than I'm actually going to want it. That kind of mimics what the plastic tip would be on like a Hornady VMAX 110 or a Nosler, what do they call the Nosler black tips? Those bullets. So what I want to do is basically imagine that I yanked off that plastic tip and leave my cutter the shape that's more or less left, and that will be something that will cast better and be less likely to damage on feeding, and also have essentially the same weight distribution as the commercial bullets. I'm going to freehand film a little bit. Hopefully I don't make you seasick here. I just wanted to see if I could catch a good close-up. See, this is the back side. Come on, focus you. There's a little burr there. I definitely need to take off the burr on what will be the retreating edge as this rotates. So it's going to rotate this direction. So this edge that's closest to the camera scoops, and this back edge does nothing. So what I will do is very faintly relieve that back edge so that it is not causing any problems. I'm going to Sharpie up all of the flat surface and also all of this area so I can see as I remove material where the high and low spots are. Ideally, this edge would be completely flat. I know it's not because there's a little flex in my drill press, and also because my grindstone had a little bit of a radius to it. That's normally why I would have finished up with the diamond stone, is while those tend to have a little bit of run out, their surface essentially stays in the same position, so they're a little more positionally consistent, if that makes sense.